Did you know there are 4 particularly dangerous, sneaky ingredients they secretly put in your beef? These toxic and potentially life-threatening additives will make you really angry. Not in small part because some of them are hidden from consumers, i.e. there is no mandatory reporting of this poisonous garbage in certain circumstances. I'm a former health scientist, specialising in nutrition, among other topics, for nearly 30 years. I've also been a social media influencer promoting the carnivore diet and lifestyle for 8 years, and a beef and sheep farmer for nearly 2 years. And I've always said the carnivore diet is great, but it's not the whole answer. More on that later. In the meantime, I'll give you some hints on how to avoid these beef additive landmines, as well as some added value in how to optimize your health journey through 4 tried and tested non-dietary health hacks. This is important, so please lock in and give this video your full attention. Let's go. Imagine, if you will, one of 2 scenarios. 1. You are trundling through the supermarket. You get to the meat department. You see the beef. They look nice and red and fresh and enticing. That's all you need, really. So, in the basket it goes. Nothing to worry about, right? Well, we'll see. Number 2. The waiter comes up to your table at the restaurant and you order the steak. Nothing to worry about there, because what you're going to get delivered is steak. Isn't it? Or is it? Anyway, let's investigate these 4 additives that are often hidden from consumers in something as simple, you would have thought, as beef. Most beef that you will buy in a supermarket is packaged under a thing called MAP, which is Modified Atmospheric Packaging. What do? They bathe the meat in a gas mixture which is not standard atmosphere. They change the amount of oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and indeed carbon monoxide. In a lot of countries and territories. Some places it's illegal, but most places it's not illegal. And it certainly is legal in the US. All right, so what's the problem with carbon monoxide gas? Well, carbon monoxide gas, if you're exposed to it in the atmosphere at very low concentrations, can be fatal to you. Why? Because carbon monoxide binds competitively to the hemoglobin molecule in your blood and the myoglobin molecule in your muscles, thus competitively binding the capacity to carry oxygen, so you die. That's not what happens when you eat meat that's been treated with carbon monoxide, mind. That's not what we're suggesting, okay? In fact, the carbon monoxide usage in the modified atmospheric packaging procedure in beef is covered under a US program called GRAS, generally recognized as safe. Okay, who decides that it's generally recognized as safe? Well, the company's doing it. What do? They report to the Food Standards Authority in the US saying, hey, guy, relax. This is generally accepted to be safe. And the Food Standards Authority folks tick the box and say, that sounds fine to us. That'll be fine, just fine, they say.
Our data shows it's completely safe.
I think we all agree on this.
This is safe for the public.
Good. So there's no guarantee it is in fact safe. There's no evidence that it isn't either, because obviously with anything it's the dose that makes the toxin, and you're going to get a very, very small dose indeed of carbon monoxide gas by eating meat that's treated with it to make it look bright red. That's what it does, by the way. It makes the meat look bright red and fresh so that it doesn't brown or grey or look tired or look spoiled or any of that sort of stuff. So that you'll see that in the packet in the supermarket and you'll pick it up and put it in your trolley. Pretty much. Okay, there is potential problems, however, with using carbon monoxide gas, etc. in modified atmospheric packaging. Here's what it is. It could make the meat look bright red, fresh, enticing, and nice, despite the fact that that meat may well, in fact, be spoiled, i.e. crawling with bacteria, which in the normal course of events would make that meat look grey or brown or horrible and unenticing, whatever, and it can hide those bacteria that are crawling around on that meat, thus making it a real possibility that you might at some point eat some meat that is actually well past its shelf life, but didn't appear to be so because it had been treated with carbon monoxide gas. Okay, so that's a risk. Let's move on. Number 2 additive in the meat. This is the second scenario that I was talking about earlier. At the restaurant table, you order the steak. Often in restaurants, at least in the US and many other countries and territories as well, what they will actually bring you is a steak which actually consists of a bunch of meat scraps glued together to make them look like a single piece of steak. Awesome. And the restaurant doesn't have to tell you that. There is no mandatory reporting to you, the consumer. If you ask the question specifically, obviously the waiter would probably need to be aware of that and say to you, well, yes, it is actually scraps that have been glued together, but they don't have to offer you that information. Well, so what? Meat that's been glued together. What's the problem? Why am I so grumpy? Well, here it is. The glue that's used is called transglutamase, which is potentially pro-inflammatory, has effects on leaky gut, i.e. causing leaky gut to occur, and one of the other real risks comes back to the bacterial problem again. Meat that accumulates bacteria tends to accumulate that bacteria around the surfaces. And so if you glue together a bunch of smaller bits of meat into larger bits of meat, you are binding bacteria around the edges of those meat scraps into the internal portions of the steak that you've glued together, thus locking that bacteria into the inside of that steak. And then if you ask the waiter for medium rare or rare, you might be asking that waiter for a bunch of bacteria. Sure, these risks with bacteria are not huge risks, but nonetheless, they are risks, and they are risks that don't need to be notified to you. Okay. Number 3. This one makes a lot of people very cross indeed. Not only because of the attendant risks associated with it, but also due to the fact that it is totally unnecessary and pointless from the ground up, in any case. Here we go. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the beef feed additive Bovia, or Bovia, depending on how you want to spell it, which consists of a number of active ingredients, including one called 3-NOP. 3-NOP is a gene mutator. It has been shown to have effects on DNA. That can't be a good thing. Query carcinogenesis, cancer-causing potentially. It's also shown to be a sterilization agent or indeed a vast fertility reducer in rats, dogs, mice, and other mammals. It seems to be spermicidal, so that's interesting. So any dose of that at all which remains in meat that you eat from beef that's been fed Bovier or Bovier could be a problem, couldn't it, in the regards to gene mutation, carcinogenesis and sterilization, potentially, isn't it? Not good. Okay. Why would this make you so angry other than the risks and the fact that they do not have to tell you about it? Many companies, at least one in New Zealand here that sells dairy products, I made a direct request to some months ago saying, hey, so listen, the dairy products that you sell, do these come from animals who have been fed Bovier or not? And they said, we are not going to disclose that information. We don't have to. You'll probably find the same thing around many countries and territories as well. Why would it make you angry? Well, here it is. What's the point of it? Bovier is designed to reduce the output of methane. Well, 70% of the dose of Bovier itself gets metabolized directly to carbon dioxide gas. Okay, anyway, so there it is. Gene mutations, potential cancer, potential sterilization. Not to mention a bunch of dairy cows in various parts of the world having been fed Bovier recently and having dropped dead because of, it seems, liver damage or something else. Do you want to eat meat that's been fed that stuff? All right, number 4. Here it is. It's a thing called ractopamine. Yes, what does that do? Well, it causes animals to put on beef. Literally. Really, it's a muscle growth stimulant. It kind of mimics the effects of epinephrine, otherwise known as adrenaline, which is okay in terms of causing the animal to grow more meat so that you can make more money, but not okay for the health of that animal in terms of its cardiac function because, well, too much epinephrine for too long. Also, it seems that there is some evidence of cardiac issues in people being fed meat from animals who were fed ractopamine, i.e. pounding heart rates, fast heart rates, cardiac issues variously, some of whom had to be withdrawn from those studies for those reasons, safety reasons. But again, generally recognised as safe. Don't worry, FSA folks. Hey guy, relax. Ractopamine has been banned in many countries, but not in the US. Sorry about that, US. So here are the calls to action. Calls to action around keeping your carnivore beef eating as safe as you possibly can for your long-term health prospects. Number one, if you're buying beef in a supermarket, think about whether the supermarket is the best place to buy beef. If you still decide that it is, here's what you should do. Read the label. If on the ingredients list there's anything other than beef, put it back. If the beef has been glued together, it has to be labelled formed meat. So there's the clue. If it says formed meat, it's glued. Put it back. If it says it's packed under modified atmospheric packaging, make your own call on that as to whether you want to be consuming potentially any amount of carbon monoxide or indeed any of the bacterial issues associated with that potentially, or whether you don't. If you're eating in a restaurant, maybe don't order the steak. You can eat steak at home for much cheaper anyway, and it's actually a piece of steak you're probably eating at home rather than scraps glued together. Have some other meat dish in the restaurant if that's what you're doing. Okay. Beyond all of that, let's get to the part about the non-dietary health hacks. You see, the thing is, all along I have said that the carnivore diet is great, but it is not the answer to everything. There are 4 other hacks beyond the carnivore diet that I believe a person should undertake on a daily/weekly basis in order to optimize their health and longevity status. So, as added value, here they are. Number 2, there are 3 products from the fine folks at the Cerule Company: Stem Enhance Ultra, Cyactive, and Plasma Flow. Take these daily, best purchased as a wellness pack on Subscribe and Save. That way you get a price break and you don't pay for the shipping. What are these products? Stem Enhance Ultra encourages your bone marrow to release your adult stem cells. They do magics in your body. They renew and repair your tissues. That's awesome, isn't it? Cyactive is an anti-inflammatory which powerfully tones down the effects of both LOX and COX inflammatory pathways. Most disease processes that people experience are underpinned by inflammation, and so knocking down inflammation in general, chronic systemic inflammation, is a good thing. And Plasma Flow is an enzyme preparation designed to dissolve fibrin deposits from the microvasculature which occur due to inflammation and which can prevent formed elements like red cells, white cells, and stem cells getting to where they need to be. So there it is. That's number 2. 3 products from Cerule, Wellness Pack, Subscribe and Save. That's the address you get them from right there. Number 3, ground yourself electrically. Sounds crazy, I know. When I first heard that, I thought, I'm a scientist, for goodness sake. I said I'm a scientist, for goodness sake, and the person who told me about grounding said, well, if you're a scientist, you'll check out whether there's any science behind it. Got me. Good. Well done, that person. There is. How do you do that? Well, at least sleep on a bed that's grounded. How do you do that? With a grounding bed sheet. Where do you get that? Amazon, eBay, whatever. They're not hard to find. Get yourself grounded, at least while you sleep. Other times you can ground during the day, perhaps, if you have the opportunity. Bare feet on the ground will do it for as long as you can do that. I have a mouse pad here on my desk which is grounded. You can do that too if you want. You can also get grounding car seat covers for your vehicles. You can be grounded a lot of the time, and you should be. Why? Because, well, there are about 19 different positive effects that have been identified, at least in pilot studies. They're well worth investigating further. I would suggest that you watch a video on my channel called In 5 Minutes or Less, Electrical Grounding or Earthing or something similar to that. It'll explain all of that to you there. Number 4, when it's dark outside, i.e. the sun is not in the sky, you should block blue wavelengths from entering your eyes. Artificial blue wavelengths. How do you do that? Dark orange or amber coloured lenses. Sometimes they look almost red. They won't be clear. They won't be non-colour distorting ones, because if you can see blue, it's not blocked. That should make sense, really, shouldn't it? Full spectrum blue blocking lenses on after dark, please. Why? Circadian rhythms, inflammatory effects, all of that kind of stuff. Very important. Again, sounds crazy, but it works. Number 5, 3 or 4 sessions a week, 45 minutes or so, high-intensity burst and repeat HIIT training and or resistance training exercise modalities at the top end of your relative intensity spectrum and the low end of your volume spectrum. There it is. The 5 health hacks, the carnivore diet and 4 others. That's your added value. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you got some value, don't forget the subscribe, the like, the comment, all the good stuff. And if you didn't, well, maybe just watch this instead.